YouTube, what is going on? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we got another video here by desu. The trash taste responds to the backlash while Hasan Piker finally found out. So yeah, as you guys know, there's been drama. The biggest anime podcast, Trash Taste, invited Hasan Piker onto their podcast and it didn't go as planned. They got a lot of negative backlash and yeah, Hasan Piker is not handling it well. I feel like he's low-key blackballed or shadow banned from like everybody. So yeah, let's just see what desu has to say about this. If you guys like the video, like and subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. Let's just jump in.
Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to be going over some updates regarding the Trash Taste podcast fiasco. So in case you don't know, Trash Taste is a podcast run by the Anime Man, CDogVA, and Giguk. They talk about anime and Japanese culture and things like that. And recently they had an episode get a lot of backlash thanks to their special guest, Hasan Piker. You can see the like-dislike ratio is just over a 24% like ratio on this video. Tens of thousands of comments, all of them pretty mad about the choice of guest, Hasan Piker, based on the many controversial things he has said over the past couple of years. And today we're going to be looking at the first response from anyone at Trash Taste regarding this situation. I
thought that they weren't going to respond. That was one of the things where I'm like, are they going to respond? Aren't they going to respond? For a feeling, I thought they were going to respond, like high key.
The things that are said by CDogVA in this case are actually pretty interesting and probably answer most of the questions people have. Now, the first update to give you guys before we get into the new stuff, Hasan has been banned on Twitch. Hell hath frozen over. He's actually been banned for once.
I never expected this. I saw this yesterday. Well, I think this morning. Hasan got banned. Jeez Louise, that is crazy. Imagine out of all people, this guy banned. Cheese. That's unpredictable. I never expected that because of his statements. Yeah, he said also another crazy thing. I don't want to repeat it.
And that stems from his recent comments where he advocated for violence against a sitting U.S. official. Yeah, I guess that's what it takes to actually get punished if you're Hasan Piker on Twitch. But he has been banned. How long that lasts, who knows? Probably not very long. But
probably a day.
Here is the response we're looking at today. It was uploaded on Connor's clip channel here. You can see the reception of this is, still somewhat controversial. It's obviously a lot better than the podcast episode. I think some people are still angry about it, but it's titled How Trash Taste Tried to Deal with the Hasan Controversy.
How did they try to deal with it? I don't think there was any attempts, because I just feel like they just ignored it and let it go. I'm shocked even Connor's addressing it, I bet his pride and ego. And I bet he's the one where Hasan is his friend,
Now, it's a 17-minute video. We're just going to kind of hit the key parts for brevity's sake here. But let's start off right here.
The way that we handle it, and the way that you should handle a lot of these things when they happen, like drama, is that sometimes it's just better to just not address anything and just let it just fade.
Unironically, that's probably the best answer for most controversy, especially if you're someone who makes...
Yeah, most controversy, you should just let it go. Unless if it's starting to hurt your money, then yeah, you kind of need to talk about it. But this is not going to hurt their money. It's just bad guest, It's not going to hurt their money. It's not going to affect any of their sponsorships. No politics was mentioned. It was just them inviting Hasan, and Hasan is not liked in the industry. So yeah.
Makes a lot of content, especially if you're like a daily uploading channel or streamer or something. Just like keep moving, unless it's really bad. In this case, it's pretty bad, right? A lot of people are upset. But I think the issue here is that they made that pinned comment about deleting comments. And it's like they started some sort of a response, which makes people expect a full response. If they're going to touch one subject, eventually you would expect they're going to touch all the subjects. And that's kind of what they're doing here, as it would play out.
Mainly because when things get too heated, almost, no matter what you would say in that moment, people are still going to be going to be unhappy. Or at least, the group of people that want an apology or whatever, anything like that. If you say anything, they're just going to be more unhappy and it just adds more fire to the flame. So that's why generally we're just kind of like, all right, we'll just let it die down, let it move on. Yeah. Let them get over it and have their fun for the week.
Yeah, people had their fun.
Okay, look, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. So This is going to get clipped as well. I know this next. So I want to be very mindful about how I approach this. If I'm gonna mention anything here.
Okay.
Is that I think there are a couple of important things to mention. So I think, first of all, I think from our podcast perspective and from our perspective, if it is fair to say that if we don't engage in politics publicly, because it's just a mess. None of us live in the US. None of us are in any of these kind of intense political situations. Whatsoever. I think
they do talk about politics, but only the country that they stay in, Japan. And when they talk about it, it's light, surface level. It's not too in depth.
It is also fair to say that why would we bring someone political on? Which I think is a very fair.
True.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. The fact he was there just in general wasn't very good, but it really wasn't just because he's a political streamer. I think
it's because it's Hasan. It's not that he's a political streamer, it's Hasan. Yeah, and Hasan, some of his statements, sheesh. It's a lot.
A lot of political streamers onto the podcast and wouldn't have had anywhere near the backlash. The reason people were so mad at this particular episode is clearly because of Hasan. And it's not just because he talks about politics, it's because people don't like the unhinged stuff he has said time and time again.
As I
extremely like a very fair criticism of us to do, which I agree with. And then I think the most annoying thing from my perspective and this whole thing is that there were legitimately fans of Trash Taste who were unhappy. And it's frustrating because you can't see or like actually hear from people who watch Trash Taste or who aren't happy because it just turned into like a political dick swinging contest.
Okay, I think
I disagree with that. Any type of criticism, even if it's people that watch your show for 1 day, 2 days, or every day, it doesn't matter. Those are your fans. Every single comment that's in below your video, those are essentially your fans because those are people that are watching you. Nobody would wake up and now say like, okay, cool, let me go comment on a Trash Taste episode. That is not in our, nobody says that. So every single person that commented there should be looked at as seriously. I feel like, sometimes there are the trolls, but bro, when majority rules the conversation, you kind of need to look at it, honestly.
There's some bit of fairness there. It's hard to get a perspective on what the actual Trash Taste podcast fans think when there's so much negativity coming from people who probably aren't subscribed and are just going to this video to basically jump in on what's going on. And as I said in my previous coverage of this whole thing, I don't think the backlash on the episode was necessarily a repudiation of Trash Taste. I think
it's them, their decisions and actions. They're trying to call them out on their actions of them bringing Hasan. It's not them dismissing or putting Trash Taste on a stake or a manhunt or witch hunt for Trash Taste. No. Is them now trying to discipline their actions and call them out that, yo, you guys did this and this is bad. You guys shouldn't do that, Grossly underestimated how much people don't like Hasan outside his community. And I think this was more of a repudiation of Hasan himself. People saw the podcast episode as like a lightning rod for their dislike of that man. And unfortunately for them, it's their podcast. So they're the ones kind of seeing the public reflection of that with the like-dislike ratio and all the comments, but the anger was mostly towards Hasan. They didn't like the fact that they were on the podcast, but they're much more angry and seeing it as an opportunity to talk about him and show that they don't like him and to repudiate him publicly. And just happened, the vehicle for this was their podcast episode. True.
And the interesting thing too,
their podcast was the vehicle for everybody to now, when Hasan kind of enters into a podcast or stream of people that are kind of like green or do their own thing, they kind of devolved from American politics. It shows that if you include Hasan, the possibility of you also entering his whole debacle and his whole drama and all of that is very it's likely for you to also enter into his controversy,
I think he talks about this later, but you can't really tell based on an outside perspective. I don't have their analytics, but looking at their Trash Taste YouTube channel, at most, they've lost 10,000 subs because that's the way the metric moves. It's every 10,000 subs once you get past 1 million. So From what I can see, they've lost no more than 10,000. That's at the very most they've lost. So they might have only lost a few thousand subs over this, despite having an absolute nightmare of a reaction to that episode.
About which side? Which is bad on our part, because like we've never had any politics or any kind of talks like that in the comments. So I think it was kind of bad of us to kind of almost invite that.
I guess they just lacked a little bit of self-awareness. You know, they lacked understanding that, Hasan is a complete opposite of their content. And I think as well because they have had him on before. So they were like, oh, okay, if the first time was okay, probably the second time. But man, 2 years makes a difference,
Second of all, the thing that was also very frustrating is that no matter what people were saying, there was a lot of brigading on a lot of sides, and I think that two things can be true at once. There were Trash Taste fans who are unhappy, and there also was brigading happening, which is also very frustrating to deal with, because then it's like, okay, now we can't actually listen to any criticism on the app.
You listen to all of it, it's not even in criticism. Like, once there's a brigade on you, you better listen to all the comments and analyze everything. You can't now say that, oh, he watched, like, I think 10 of our episodes, so we should listen to him. You should listen to all of it. Because it is a mutual, I guess, because you can see the likes, the dislikes, the brigade, it is something that you should be very aware of. You shouldn't dismiss anybody's comments,
Episode, because both sides are jumping in, right?
Well, I think that is somewhat important. I mean, yeah, there were definitely people jumping in. Like I said, that podcast episode was like a lightning rod for people who don't like Hasan, and that's a way to show their disliking of him. But I think also, as he'll go on to say, is he wasn't aware of all these things involving politics and Hasan and some of his takes, and it's like, well, that's maybe an opportunity to read some of those and understand why people are so mad and why.
Exactly. You shouldn't dismiss. Yeah, exactly what I was saying. Yeah.
Bad idea to have him on the podcast, but I do generally get what he's trying to go after here.
And I even told Hasan, I was like, hey man, can you not? Like, it's bad enough that one side is doing this. Please don't bring up the fucking episode and be like, hey, send people. Just be above this. Don't.
I'm glad also you told him to knock that off, because that made things infinitely worse. Okay, there was already a lot of negativity heading towards the episode, but when he said the whole counter brigading comment and encouraged his audience to jump in there and try to change the narrative, that made people even more divisive, and that made people even more gung-ho about trying to send him.
Yeah, also I think Hasan kind of lacked a bit of, okay, cool. I don't think it has hit him that he's not the best content creator for a lot of things. I think he kind of lacks a little bit of self-awareness also as well in this situation.
Message with this podcast and the choice of special guest.
Don't do this, because if people who have very extreme beliefs want to go crazy, I can't stop them. They can do whatever they want. But you hope that at least another side wouldn't do that as well. So I told him, I was like, hey, please don't do that.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, man, okay, my bad.
Right.
But I think as well, I told Hasan as well, I was like, hey, look, the show is not political. We don't want to deal with politics. We're most likely not going to have you on again. No, and that's not like anything like, hey man,
No, it's the truth, man. He's messing up the money. Why would you bring somebody that messes up your money, bro? No, hell no. You would want to stay far away from them. Because now, what if next time your brands start disappearing and saying, yo, peace, I'm going to see you later.
Yeah.
Well, no, at this point, like, what else are you going to do? Like, you could, it could have been an unfair situation. Let's say instead of Hasan, it was someone else completely innocent, and for some reason people went absolutely ape shit and were angry about it. Like, yeah, maybe it's unfair in that situation, but you can't do it again because people would be even more angry. And with Hasan, he was on the podcast 2 years ago, and I believe the like-dislike ratio on that was like 90%. But a lot has changed over 2 years. I mean, he's made more
2 years is a long time.
takes, but most importantly, I think more people are aware of the things he has said, and that's why people were so ready to jump on that particular episode, the latest
Bro,
one.
imagine being in this situation.
And yeah, you can't bring him back now. Like, it would be even worse, honestly. Speaking as someone who is many moons ago, I made a video, I think it was a waifu tier list. People didn't really like some of my choices. So I doubled down the next day and said, aha, you're right. You guys were right. You thought I ranked these characters too low. You're right. I got to move them even lower. People didn't find that very funny. So I guess doubling down sometimes.
Oh man, he did the waifu tier list. Imagine getting scrutinized for the waifu tier list. I'm gonna do that. I should definitely do a video of that.
People are mad like that. It doesn't really work out too well. And this is a no-brainer at this point. How could you possibly have him back on? But I believe it's right here. He actually mentions the specific number of subs they lost, and it's a pretty surprising number.
I can tell you exactly how many right now. Let me find out. We lost 4,000 subscribers, which is not a lot. But I also think it is disingenuous, and I think it's bad to pretend like. You
No,
know.
it's bad. Yeah, not because that's abnormal. Like they've never lost 4,000 subs for anything. Maybe on a course of a period of time, not just because of one video. Now you lose 4,000. That's pretty bad, you know. So you gotta kind of pay a little close attention to that.
You know, that people aren't unhappy.
You know what I wish, especially because I can tell Connor he's just doing this because that's Connor. I just wish all of the whole Trash Taste crew would just sit down and talk about it and say that, okay, cool, this is the situation, this is what's happening, and do it one episode and move on, instead of now it's kind of like up in the air, type of thing, and only Connor is the one that's speaking.
Well, I mean, first of all, 4,000 subs, losing 4,000 on a video like that with so much negative feedback is actually a very small number. I mean, 4,000 is nothing to like waft your hands at. Like, it's still a significant number, and it shows that people who were fans of the podcast and were subscribed were not happy. But it also shows that a lot of the people, like I said, it was like a lightning rod for people who don't like Hasan, so they went over there to show their disliking of him, and that's reflected by the sub numbers there. And again, with a channel they have like 1.5 million subs, to lose 4,000 is like a pretty small number. It's not insignificant, but you would expect it to be a lot higher given what happened and how angry people were about the podcast itself. But let's skip ahead to the next section here.
Well, there was obviously a lot of bandwagoning on it because people were, loving it, and people don't like Hasan, and so people were jumping on it and making videos about it. There was a lot of stuff that people said that was just flat out not true, and people were just making stuff up. Some people were saying like, "Oh, they didn't have this guest on. They said they were too controversial, but they had another guest on." That's never happened.
So the name I heard...
Who knows, man? Who knows?
Heard in that situation, I saw people saying that they wouldn't have Nux Taku on the podcast because he was too controversial. That was one.
Who's Nux Taku? The way I'm so out of touch,
The names I heard people saying. I've never seen any proof of that, so I don't know. I feel like if they were willing to invite Hasan, I think they'd be willing to invite
anybody,
Nux, if that's something that they wanted to do. But yeah, I think people were making that.
If you can invite Hasan, Hasan he's up there of like, he's not a Johnny Somali, but he's kind of like like one step below him. He's like a Sneeko. Like I said in my previous video, he kind of reminds me of Sneeko. Where Sneeko, at one point, he was the most talented, then he kind of went off the rails with the whole politics and all of that. It's just bad. It's bad content, where it doesn't matter about how, like, your opinion is too critical and your opinion contradicts everything that you live. It's kind of like an opinion which lacks a lot of self-awareness or understanding of, like, what you're a YouTube, not a YouTuber, you're a Twitch streamer. Like, what will you say will affect politics? And even if you say it, will it do anything? It won't, because you're a Twitch streamer, So I feel like people should kind of like stay in their lane.
It's also like with the deletion of comments. I said that in my first reaction to this whole thing. I believe them when they said that they weren't deleting comments, because YouTube's comment section is really messed up, and it's not too surprising. But I think he's going to talk about that in a second.
That's just a bunch of lies. So I don't know what that was about. There was also the only things that were disappointing from me, my perspective as well, that like really, I was like, man, what the fuck? Is that people would then make whole narratives based around, because we had X on, that we then couldn't criticize any other creator, we couldn't, they're like, oh, these people have changed, they're horrible, yada, yada, yada. And that was like, oh, okay, that sucks that people are just making assumptions, but not a big deal.
People would lie on the internet?
But yeah, no, I mean,
They
look,
would.
the reason why we didn't address it right away, we wanted to wait, was because a lot of people were, they were just demanding things. There were a lot of comments that were like, you need to delete this episode. Where I feel pretty confident in saying this, where if you ask Trash Taste viewers, do you want them to delete the episode? I think most viewers are sensible. They would say, hey, even if I don't agree with this episode or I don't agree with this one, I wouldn't want you to delete an episode.
That'd be the worst move, actually.
I think that's...
No, don't. I'm glad they didn't delete the episode. Looking at the bigger picture, it's a learning curve, more than, because if they deleted, it shows that, I don't know, man. They'll only delete it if they start losing money. That's the only thing. They're still making money off the episode, but the time when they'll delete it is when the money starts disappearing. The sponsors start going, the people that are paying them start going, and they kind of get blackballed because of this whole Hasan thing. Then they would delete it. But in this situation where it was just they didn't like the fact that Hasan was there, it's good that they didn't delete it.
Crazy. Now, also, I want to make it very clear as well, in case you're watching this on YouTube, that because this is no doubt going to be a clip, that I'm sure that there's a good chance the comments, might get taken over depending on how big this clip is. Please think for yourself.
It's gotten a lot of attention so
Please
far.
don't just read top comment and form your opinion based around that. Obviously, you're all adults. I trust you. And what I really appreciated is that a lot of Trash Taste fans did seem to be just tired of people picking a side and being emotionally charged about it, and we're kind of just like, hey, maybe it's not for me. All good. Next episode.
That's not the vibe that they do on their channel. I think that's pretty obvious. But let's skip to one more section, and then we're going to wrap this up.
But I think the underlying point is the same. Of like, look, to the Trash Taste fans that are disappointed, sorry, it is unfortunate. Are we going to delete the episode? No. If you did you unsubscribe? Okay, I apologize.
They're gone.
That you felt the need to unsubscribe. But at the end of the day, there was it was just we did not estimate what would happen.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much exactly what I was saying.
That is
they
very
just
true.
Made a bad choice. It's pretty much all it is. Anyone who thinks there was some kind of malice in their choice of guest, or they were adopting his political views or anything like that, I think that's going too far.
Yeah.
I just think this was the results of not really reading the room, not understanding just how controversial Hasan is. They even Connor at one point basically also said that he doesn't really keep up to date on these things. I mean, I think on the one hand you have a bit.
No, it's not that he doesn't keep up to date. Remember, Hasan is his friend, I bet, because I've seen Connor around a lot of Twitch streamers, big Twitch streamers, so I think Hasan is one of his friends, high key.
Of a responsibility to understand who you're inviting onto your podcast, but I also understand that, not everyone's up to date on all this stuff, so, Okay,
you guys tell me what you guys think of this video. Crazy timing. Hasan, man, always in so much drama, a lot of things. This guy is like literally a hot potato you cannot be around. He just puts too much drama on everybody. But yeah, you guys tell me what you guys think. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, and thank you guys for watching.